Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record show that all board members are present except Deb Alm. And we have no citizens' comments tonight. We'll go on to board committee reports, starting with Chad.
Nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Eric?
I also have nothing to report.
I had agenda planning, and then I walked the middle school property with John Beach and Ben this week. Eric? John?
I had community ed and policy tonight.
Policy.
All right, Jim, thank you. Student council report.
Okay, at the moment, we're kind of in the eye of the hurricane for student council stuff. We just got done with snow days, that went really well. So now we're just kind of planning a lot of stuff for the future. We're planning up different things we could do for Earth Day, like selling glass straws. We're gonna release details for the senior shirt. We're planning a possible talent show we might do. Not sure if we want to do that yet. And then we're thinking of maybe doing April candy grams. So that.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your work. Superintendent report.
Thank you. Things are strong work happening all across the district. I wanted to share just a few items of note with you. Wanted to let the board know that I'll be at the Association of School Administrators conference here for the next couple of days, and I'll hopefully bring back lots of best practices and new ideas. I kept you aware that we have had to be very resilient over the last couple of months for sure as it relates to staffing. And we're blessed with the fact that we haven't had to be a school district in the state of Minnesota that has to shut down due to labor shortages. But it was a test for us, and everybody through this time, through adversity, has really stepped up and been team players, and everybody subbing, and the countless numbers of prep times that teachers have given up over the last several months for us to be able to just get by. I'm pleased to report to you that our number of absences related to illness has drastically declined recently, and is definitely trending down. So we're very thankful to that, and we're hopeful that that will continue. I want the board to know that we are meeting administratively to analyze our transition to tiered busing system, as we had just changed over to this last year, but I received a couple of questions from board members, and we've been putting that under the microscope and just taking a look at all of the pros and the cons. One of the biggest thing that we need to iron out is just the number of early releases that are happening due to activities at the end of the day. And we're going to really analyze that and hopefully put some pieces into play for next year where that will be improved. One of the things too that I want the board to know that we're really focusing on recently and having more and more of a sense of urgency is our work to ensure that all of our students are able to come to school in a culture that is safe and respectful for all students, free of bias and discrimination. And there's lots of different moving parts and pieces that we're focusing on, lots of pieces in our climate and culture action plan and strategies that we're in various stages of implementing. So I'll continue to keep you posted on that as we move forward. As always, I can talk for hours, but I'll close my remarks for now unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Ben? Okay, with that, then we'll move on to approve the agenda. For motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So.
Motion made by Jim,
Second.
second by Eric Strandberg. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Discuss and act on previous board meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the previous minutes from February 1?
1 second.
Motion made by Eric Minks, second by Chad. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Motion made by Jim, second by Eric Minks. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to the information part of the meeting, 9A, the American Indian concurrence.
I'll speak to that, and I think that we're blessed to have one of our newest team members with us, Bear Paw. Bear Paw is our cultural liaison, an American Indian liaison, and we're just so happy to have her as part of our team, and she's doing strong work. And she has a parent advisory group that she meets with and gets consultation from. And what you have in front of you that's on the board agenda is an application that we need to get approved by the state. I don't know, Fairpod, would I be putting you on the spot if I asked you to say a couple words?
No.
Okay.
So just a little bit about me. I come from, my tribe is located in Wolf Point, Montana. I am a member of the Assiniboine and Sioux tribes and lived in Minnesota my whole life. Just have a passion for the culture and educating people. And so the concurrence was approved by the American Indian Parents Advisory Committee. And we have Steph Henning here, who's the vice chair on that. And so we have everything's going really well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, welcome, and thank you.
And there's a lot of work that goes into just going through the process to get some funding from the state so that can help support some of the additional services that we can provide. So thank you for coming.
Okay. 9B is discussion or update on the land sale.
I just want to let the board know that I have updated plans that are on my table that you can come in and view at any time. They're constantly changing. A lot of the work has gone into getting legal descriptions of the different parcels and then coming up with some agreements on, where property lines would start and end. We've asked for that to be surveyed and for stakes to be put in the ground so that we would not have an opportunity to physically see, where things would be located. And we did have that chance to walk the property just the other day. We were thankful to have John Beach join us. You may or may not know that John has a passion for wildlife and integrating that wildlife into some of our science courses and different courses at the school. And it's not just the intermediate students that have an opportunity to enjoy that. All of our students at the different levels do. But he, specifically took us back to an area where he's had cameras where we are able to observe wildlife. So that was something that we didn't, necessarily know how the sale of this property would impact that. So we did get a drawing of, where we would like to have access down to the river and access to be able to keep some cameras and the ability to continue to do that. We've talked to the developer and there didn't seem to be an opposition to working with us on that. The developer is also working with the city and all of their different layers within the city to move that work forward. We're getting near a final draft of a purchase agreement that once we have that, we'll present that to the board for your review. And then we can go back and forth on any questions or modifications that we might need to have to refine that purchase agreement to make sure it's something that we want to have. I'm not sure if the board has heard the news that the Star Tribune has just recently listed Princeton, the Princeton community is in the top 10 of the hottest housing markets or places that people would like to be. I think the housing is a real issue as it relates to that, and I think that there's some exciting possibilities on the way. So we're in the human development business, we're in the people business. As you know, that we've been projecting decline in enrollment now almost every year, and every year we're able to, you know, keep our enrollment steady so that we can continue to offer robust programming and keep our class sizes as low as we possibly can. So we like kids, we like people, we like families. So more housing would really, I think, bring value to us and the greater community. I don't have anything else for you on the land.
Any other questions?
Can I ask a question? No.
Yeah, technically not.
Okay, I just want
I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
to.
Okay, 9C is the revised budget. Michelle?
We have two documents. The first one, Fund 2, Fund 4, 6, 7, we have done no changes since the last time, but Fund 1, under the general part, we have under the unassigned. So if you would go to the second attachment. In the unassigned area, as we were reviewing it between the last board meeting and tonight, we noticed our subs were running a little heavier than they had been prior to, because we had a whole nother month. Jason kept saying to me, we're gonna be hit with sub costs, so I gotta wait, you know, until the whole month is finished so I can compare. And they were running hotter, so we did adjust the sub budget, and then we had a couple staff members, one para and one staff person that was missed in, teacher that was missed in the actual budget when we compared, so we added those in. The budget is slightly higher, or the deficit is a little bit higher by about 100,000 from the previous, which doesn't look like much on this piece of paper, but it does make a difference when we do the analysis on the next line. So I wanted you aware that we did do those changes, and we will be continuing to monitor the budget until we get to the year end, and if there's any significant changes that we have to come back to you with, we will. Do you have any questions on the revised budget as a whole?
I think this is like the third or fourth time you've seen this, so I would imagine they might not have any. So,
So can we go on to the next
Yep.
one?
Going to the parameters.
All right, so the parameters for the enrollment have not changed. On the second multi-year analysis, we have some options that we put out there for you. And then we ran some budget analysis. We just took two snapshots, one with 3,090 as K-12 enrollment and one at 3,070. I'm going to jump straight to the 3,070 because of course the 3,090 will look better. because there's more kids there. What that did when we adjusted the budget by that 100,000, if you look at that 98%, you can see that the reductions to maintain 10% on the way far right is 245,000 now. Instead of slightly, I believe the last one was slightly over 100. So it does make a difference on our adjustments. So Jason and I will be meeting this week to discuss what things look like on a staffing level. And then we will be meeting with the principals once Ben's back in town, which we do every year to come up with what our adjustments might look like. And there are some things that automatically come off. The 300,000 that we have for other increase, that might be lower than 300. So there's things that'll happen. It doesn't mean that we're going to be exactly at that, but I want you aware that now that it looks slightly different. Any questions on that?
So these are the two that will be choosing which number goes into where we vote on.
Yes.
Michelle, do you have a recommendation for the board? I mean, the
Hmm.
one's more conservative, you know, in terms of the budget process.
Yeah, I
We always
kind of
got-
kicked myself out of board book here, so you gotta wait a minute.
So basically, when we're deciding on our projection for student enrollment, that will be the number that will drive all of our line items as it relates to the projection analysis for revenue. So that we'll know how much that we can build our budget on and where our expenditures would need to be so that we have a balanced budget. And then we take into account the dollars that we have in our fund balance that could offset any shortages. Or let's say, for example, we adopt a budget that is projected to go deficit. But we have a long-standing practice of underspending our budget. And we have a fund balance that allows us the opportunity to, you know,
Yep.
to have more choices, if you will.
Yep.
So do you have a recommendation on student
Well,
enrollment?
as I studied this after our last meeting, I think I said to Jason one day, I said, I think I have to lean more toward the 3,070, and a lot of it is on that K class, the kindergartners coming in. Mainly because we only have, you know, the year before, we had 310 kids that we were choosing from. And we did the calculation, we brought in about 72% of those kids. And this year we only have 260. So without us having a number that's over 300, that's makes me a little nervous.
I think we had talked about the 37 before. I think.
Yep.
That option.
Mhm. Yes, that was one of, yeah, I eliminated some of the very worst case if you're on the multi-year analysis. I had some that were as low as 3,050. I don't think we need to go that low. I think 3,070 would be reasonable. If you're comfortable with that. Obviously, at 3,090, we wouldn't have to make as many adjustments, but the question is what we can always add back toward the beginning of the school year. If we have more students, the thing that's hard to do is undo, you know, staffing set.
I think our numbers are gonna go up. I think that a lot of people didn't send their kids to school this year, not knowing what was gonna happen with masks or shutdowns, and now that we've made it through, almost through a full school year, and next year we're into a completely a year, essentially a year removed from it. I think we're actually gonna have more than what we have this year. Even if your numbers for the 4-year-olds do say that they're low, I think I really think that you're gonna have a high class of kindergartners and be a good problem to have, I guess.
But we definitely are hoping they come.
Yeah, I mean, we hope, I mean, I hope, I'm right there with you. I'm certainly hopeful. It's just a matter of, philosophically, how we want to build a budget. Do you want, we've been able to stay in a financially solid position by building budgets with the worst case scenario philosophy. That would be, if we went higher numbers, we would be changing our philosophical approach, which is okay. It's just different than what we've done. I will also say that we do not adopt our budget fully until June. And I mean, there hasn't been a year, and there probably won't ever be a year where that I won't be communicating with you yet, once we get closer into May and June on what the more real numbers are. And even after we adopt it, we don't really start learning until the numbers that we're gonna have until late August.
Mhm.
And really know what we have until mid-September, a lot of times. And the one thing that every year I've been here anyways, is I don't think there's been a year that we haven't added. If we have more students, we're gonna ask to add staff. Because we do believe in those parameters and we wanna stay within those parameters. So if we're gonna get out of line with those parameters in August, we're gonna ask for a late hire. And then we modify the budget. Well, we always do it in March, but I mean, you can do it earlier if you wanted to. So, board's choice on what numbers you want us to
So
build this
is
by.
there a motion then on the?
There is later on.
1070 or what?
Later.
Later, okay.
And it looks like the class size guidelines are staying at the same that they have been for the past 4 or 5 years or whatever it's been now.
The other variable too, in all of this is, again, past practice. We have adopted budgets that project our expenditures being more than our projected revenue. Sometimes as much as $1 million or $1.5 million. And, and we can do that based on 2 reasons. One is we do have a savings account. And 2 is we have a strong body of work of being able to underspend our budget every year by making smart financial decisions. Most of the time, on a good year, we're expending 98% out of the 100%, which, that 2% on a significant size budget is a high dollar amount. But, Michelle always uses the snow removal thing, right? We never know how much snow we're gonna get and how much plowing we gotta have. So we gotta set a budget. I don't even know what it is. I'm gonna just make a fictitious number up, maybe 50,000 for snow removal. Well, on a good year, if it doesn't snow very much, maybe you only spend 25,000. Well, then you save 25. Right, but you sure wanna have that 50,000 there in case you do have a winter where you have, when you have literally thousands of line items in a budget, some things you might go a little bit over on, and some things, hopefully you are under on more things. And you're a veteran board, you've experienced this.
Both of these options are less enrollment.
Yes. Yes, they are.
So any other questions or discussions?
I guess just one for Michelle is, we're seeing such inflation even on our everyday items and even like our utilities. How much have you built that into this?
Into the equation going forward. So that would be part of the 300,000. And I'm not gonna know like what lights and heating are going to hit us until closer to that spring mark. I currently am not seeing much of a difference from previous years on those line items, but most of it is because of the fact that the winter amounts have not hit our books yet. So we're almost 2 months behind based on the cycle of how the bills go. So until that hits,
We
The
could have
books.
some sticker there.
yeah, well, you know, our home gave me maybe a sticker shock. So yes, I did think of that as soon as I saw
How
it.
about Palmer? When do they come in with,
Palmer is a set contract, so that.
for next year too?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a
So
fuel
with gas
per
prices, with fuel prices, it's still a set.
It is to a certain amount. And we have never, you know, we had high gas prices here when I first started and we never got to the amount, because you gotta remember the gas prices, you take out the federal and state tax. So.
Okay.
I'm not too concerned about the busing, but special ed and care and treatment can be different every year depending on what we're transporting. So we do our best with the estimates there.
All right, anything else? Thank you, Michelle. We'll move on to the action portion, to 10A for the revised budget. Looking for a motion to accept the 2022 revised budget as presented.
So moved. I'll second it.
Motion made by Eric Strandberg, seconded by Chad. Is there any more discussion on the revised budget? Hearing none, is that the roll call vote? Starting with Jim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sue, yes,
Yes.
Chad. Motion carries. Move on to 10B, the 2023 calendar. We looked at that last meeting.
Board had an opportunity to review this. I've received 0 questions on that. We're asking the board to approve.
So
It's been a motion by Jim to approve the 2023 school calendar as presented, a second by Don. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So now 10C, the parameters for the 2022. We'll start with 10C, the class size, looking for a motion to approve the recommended class size ranges. That document is there, we've seen many times.
So moved.
Motion made by Don, seconded by Chad. And are these each roll call or just the?
No,
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. No motion needed on the state. That's a 2% 10C to enrollment. We need a motion to set the enrollment estimate.
I'll make a motion to set the enrollment estimate for 2022-2023 at 3,070 students.
A motion by
Second.
Eric, second by Eric Minks. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 11, there's no additions to the agenda. The future meetings are listed. Need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Eric Minks, second by Eric Strandberg. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Everybody.